collaborator, your editor, and how when you first sat down and looked at the manuscript, it looked just like interviews. I think people would like to know how you wrote this book and how it turned into a book.
Well, I think from the time that I gave my collaborator, I didn't give her the one thing, and she was so respectful of me not to talk about my real life. And I decided that a book without specifics and generalizations is not really a good book. And, you know, I'm never going to be Ernest Hemingway. This isn't, you know, Old Man in the Sea. But I decided that I would sit down and write how I always envisioned the book would start the day I walked out of my mother's house. And that's how it starts. And I tried, you know, it's a funny kind of book because it's kind of like me, you know, I'm over here and then I'm over there, and, you know, I think that kind of thinking is the thinking that got me through, you know, the good times, the bad times, all the times, you know. And so I do owe a lot of my thinking to other artists like Yoko Ono, who I took her book, and it made me understand that I do my art differently. I was outside the box, always. And when people write books like that, it helps you understand how you can live through art. And I decided to explain why when everybody says, oh, you know, did you know Girls Just Want to Have Fun would be a hit? And when you read the book, you'll find out why and what motivated me to make that song into the best anthem I could possibly make. Not just for me, but for my mother, my grandmother, and my aunt, a generation and two generations of women before me whose lives were disenfranchised because they were women. And in a day and age where people say, well, I'm not a feminist, you know, I say, well, did you go to college? And do you vote? And do you collect your own paycheck? Because if you do any of those things, then you benefit from the feminist movement. So and in the book, I know I'm so long-winded, I'll make it short. In the book, I also wrote about the fact that when I first came out, you were one of the journalists, and people would say to me, oh, well, are you a feminist? And at that time, most of my colleagues would say they were a humanist. But I don't think they ever realized just who they actually were speaking to, because I was not only a feminist, but I was a bra-burning, card-carrying feminist from the time I was 15 years old. So I was at the first demonstration, so I would say, yeah, I am. Why, you got a problem with that? And nobody